They are the nation's oldest active duty infantry unit.
We want you to perform your job to the best of your ability.
There is no mission of greater significance.
Left shoulder.
Because every soldier, airman, service member that is buried in Arlington National Cemetery is a hero.
And there is very little margin for error.
Hey!
You only get one opportunity to say goodbye to that family's loved one and perform that ceremony. It's a one-shot deal. So we have to make it perfect.
They pay daily tribute to this nation's fallen.
And what we are providing to the loved ones is the same thing that we would expect to be provided to our loved ones.
Tonight, full honors, the Old Guard. Just weeks after 9/11, Operation Enduring Freedom was launched by President Bush. There was no formal declaration of war, but effectively that's what it amounted to, the beginning of the war on terrorism. Young American servicemen and women have been dying far from home ever since. Most of those deaths have occurred in Iraq, of course. As many of you know, we paid tribute to those men and women a few weeks ago in a broadcast we dedicated to the fallen. At the end of this program tonight, I will read the names of those who have died in Operation Enduring Freedom in places other than Iraq. Most of those, obviously, in Afghanistan. We have also lost military personnel, however, in Pakistan and Kuwait, Cuba, the Philippines, and Uzbekistan, in Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and in the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea. Many of those young men and women did not die in combat, but they all died in the service of their country. And since this is Memorial Day weekend, we wanted to pay our respects to those whom we did not honor a few weeks back. We begin, though, by focusing on an elite Army infantry unit, about which most of us know very little, although it may be one of the best-known units in the U.S. Army. If you have ever seen or seen pictures of the honor guard at the Tomb of the Unknowns at Arlington Cemetery, you have seen the Old Guard at work. But as producer Artis Waters and cameraman Fletcher Johnson will show you now, guarding the tomb is only a small fraction of what the Old Guard does.
It takes a very disciplined person to be able to wake up at 3:30 every morning, 5 days a week, making sure these horses are presentable for the public in Arlington National Cemetery. "99% of these soldiers that come into the caisson platoon have never touched a horse in their life. They'll start shining brass, spit shining saddles. Now usually last up until 0600 hours. Being a part of the Old Guard is a great honor. It's a tough enough challenge just to make it into the platoon. You have 10 soldiers competing for their slots within caisson. When you're dealing with 1,000-pound animals, 1,500-pound animals, you have to have your mindset that you're going to control that animal in every situation.
I think every soldier of this regiment that participates in any one of the memorial missions that they do understands that the greatest tribute that can be paid to one of their fallen soldiers is to be there with them.
Hey, son, forward, ho!
To be able to provide to that family in a very dignified way the precision and the discipline and the dedication that our military represents. And I think that every one of those soldiers that I command feels that every time they do one of these missions. They feel how important their presence is to those families and to what that sacrifice means to our nation. We've had about 57 some odd Operation Enduring Freedom or Operation Iraqi Freedom burials now in Arlington. And our soldiers, knowing that some of their fellow friends are ones that they're now burying, some of the soldiers that they went to basic with, it reinforces that we're at war, that what we do is incredibly important, and again, and what we are providing to the loved ones is the same thing that we would expect to be provided to our loved ones.
When you first look at a procession, it's amazing to see when they stop at the gravesite and they turn in, everyone's going to turn in at exactly the same time. It's going to be timed to perfection. Once they actually begin stepping up onto the gravesite, the first guys, if it's a 6-man casket team, will always step up on the second step. The second row will step up on the 4th. The 3rd row will step up on the 6th. We'll bring the casket down perfectly level. Your backs are going to be perfectly flat, matching the guy next to you. And while we're on the marks, no one actually calls the commands. It's all done off a pop of a flag. Everyone has to remember exactly where they're at and what they need to be doing just from their memory. You can't, there's no one out there telling you, right face, left face.
Ready, hey, pause. Ready, hey, pause. Ready, hey, pause. Ready, 3, 2, 4.
Once you start into your casket sequence, they're going to pop the flag and everyone is going to know what their motion will be. We're not only trying to achieve perfection, but go above that. I want to be better than perfect. Don't want anything less for the family. But the part that touches me the most is when you actually can see the family standing there while you're holding the flag, you can see every emotion in their face.
What our soldiers feel as they have the privilege of being able to honor those fallen is more than words. It is about loyalty and duty. It is about being able to provide in a tangible way to their families just how important this service to this nation is.
The Sentinel's Creed. My dedication to this sacred duty is total and wholehearted, and the responsibility bestowed on me, never will I falter.
Line 6 of the Sentinel's Creed is my standard will remain perfection. and we're always striving to remain perfect. Just to become a tomb guard in the training process, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of personal dedication just to get to that standard. If you pass that standard of perfection, then you're constantly striving to maintain it.
It takes a special breed of soldier to be at the tomb. It's a very reverent, solemn place to be.
Originally, when I came to the tomb, and tried out for the tomb platoon, I came, I don't want to say for the wrong reasons, but I came for prestige. I wanted to work with the best. I wanted to be the best. And one day it hit me. I was guarding the tomb, walking the mat, and there was only one gentleman there. And he said, he leaned over the rails and said, "Thank you for doing this." And at that moment, I realized there are many people that cannot. I'm one of the select few that can guard the tomb. I volunteered to do it, and I do this for everyone who gave their life for me, for my freedom, and my family in the future, their freedom. Just coming to the tomb for the opportunity to volunteer is difficult. Candidates must show a high level of motivation and dedication, because it takes a lot of motivation and dedication to make it at the tomb. And they must also have no negative military actions taken against them with a Uniform Code of Military Justice. Usually, the candidates that volunteer, about 50% of them don't make it through the initial 2-week test. And of the rest, from start to finish, there's usually an 80 to a 95% dropout rate of trainees quitting or failing. Here at the tomb, you must always put your best foot forward, and you must always dedicate as much time as you can to improving yourself. There are 3 crypts directly behind the tomb on the plaza. In the tomb is the World War I unknown, and there is the Korean War crypt and the Vietnam War crypt, and also the World War II crypt. The Vietnam War crypt is empty. The other 2 crypts have an unknown from either World War II or the Korean War. The tomb itself is the headstone for all the families that do not know where their loved ones are. We have many sets of remains that are unknown, and many missing in action, and it's the one place that all those different families can go, and it could very well be any one of their sons buried in the tomb or the crypts.
It's a symbol of the respect to the soldiers who have died, and to that extent they're showing to everyone who comes out to visit a true dedication.
I admire them. I wonder how in the world they can do it. The precision is something that just, I get a little overcome.
This is what excellence is all about. You have a soldier and you have a non-commissioned officer. That soldier knows his mission. That non-commissioned officer is there to inspect him, to ensure that he is trained to standard, and then he leaves that soldier. And that soldier does exactly what he's supposed to do 24 hours a day when nobody's looking. He does what's right.
Walking the mat, that's what we do during our guard shift. There's a black mat out there. It's about 63 feet in length in front of the tomb. And we walk 21 steps up the mat. We face DC. We'll wait 21 seconds. We'll face back down the mat, change shoulders, moving the weapon away from the tomb and towards the audience. We'll then wait 21 seconds and then take another 21 steps up the mat. And that's a continual process. When the public's not out there, we still perform our job to the standard. It's very beautiful, very emotional. It's also very peaceful. With the exception of the cicadas, it's very calm and quiet. I feel extreme sense of pride. There's a lot of honor every time I get suited up and go out the door. That the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is trusted upon me for my walk. That it will be standing, it will be guarded, and that anyone who visits it will render honor and not be disrespectful to the tomb and to my country.
Honoring the nation's fallen when we come back. Not all of them died in combat, but from Afghanistan to Uzbekistan, they all died in service to the United States of America. What is unfolding live behind the scrolling of those names is the changing of the guard, the old guard, at the Tomb of the Unknowns. Evander Andrews, John Edmonds, Christopher Stonecipher, Bryant Davis, Benjamin Johnson, Vincent Parker, Giovanni Maria, Michael Jakes Jr., Jefferson Davis, Daniel Petithori, Brian Prosser, Nathan Chapman, Matthew Bancroft, Brian Bertrand, Stephen Bryson, Scott Germosen, Nathan Hayes, Daniel McCollum, Jeanette Winters, Walter Cohey III, Dwight Morgan, Jason Disney, Thomas Allison, James Doherty, Jody Egnor, Curtis Feistner, Jeremy Foschi, Kerry Frith, William McDaniel II, Bart Owens, Juan Rideau, Bruce Rushforth, Curtis Carter, Christopher Blasham, Stanley Harriman, Mark Anderson, John Chapman, Matthew Commons, Bradley Croze, Jason Cunningham, Neil Roberts, Philip Svitek, Matthew Burgess, Brian Craig, Justin Galuski, Jamie Morgans, Daniel Romero, Gene Vance Jr., Sean Corlew, Anissa Shiro, Peter Ties II, Christopher Spear, Ryan Foraker, Mark Jackson, Antonio Sled, James Ebbers, Pedro Pena, Stephen Chico, Gregory Frampton, Thomas Gibbons, Daniel Kissling Jr., Mark Osteen, Michael Barry, Brian Clemens, Rodrigo Gonzalez Garza, Timothy Muling, John Smith, William Tracy, Spence McNeil, James Dillon Jr., Jason Prophet, Tamara Arcoletta, Jason Hicks, Michael Maltz, Jason Plight, John Stein, John Teal, Jacob Frazier, Orlando Morales, Jared Dennis, Raymond Lozano, John Taylor, Seth Michaud, Thomas Retzer, Kelvin Gutierrez, Christopher Geiger, David Tapper, Mitchell Lane, Chad Fuller, Adam Thomas, Evan O'Neill, Christian Parker, Paul Kimbrough, Darrell Jones, Paul Sweeney, Jay Blessing, Philip Albert, William Kerwood, Stephen Plumhoff, Thomas Walkup Jr., Howard Walters, Theodore Perot, Roy Wood, Sean Clemens, Robert Cook, Benjamin Gilman, Adam Kinzer, Curtis Mancini, James Maurus, Justin Scott, Danton Seitzinger, Nicholas Golding, David Hall, Michael Esposito Jr., Anthony Lagman, Dennis Jala Jr., Herbert Clonch, Patrick Tillman, Philip Witkowski, Brandon Wadman, Ronald Payne Jr., Bruce Price. We hope you all have a safe Memorial Day weekend. That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.